Due to numerous compounding buffs, Space Group has finally become a viable line and is slowly starting to take over the meta. My name is Boris and today we'll quickly look at the comp and then jump in a VOD review with Wasian Iverson. The default version that we're looking to be playing at right moment is Ornn and Samira reroll, which we are going to be approaching as a standard level 7 reroll, ideally playing from some form of a tempo spot around Samira or Ornn, or any form of AD item carriers. Ezreal, Gnar, Primordian for those extra resources are all great and can utilize our items. And a little trickier, you can also be playing around some form of Spear of Shojin opener. If we are playing from Lost Streak, then we will be sacking all the way to 3-5 and then spiking with our 2 stars on level 7. However, the comp is quite stable, I would say, on 2 stars. Therefore, sometimes playing around that edge of delaying level 7 all the way to 4-1, even from Lost Streak, can be done if you have the correct setup for it. If we happen to be win streaking around AP items instead, then we can be playing it as a either fast 8, fast 9 comp, where we cap around Nami and Blitzcrank. When playing the reroll version, we would ideally be hitting around end of stage 4 or 5-1, and then play 7 Space Group immediately as soon as we find that single Blitzcrank. Push levels, slot in any form of a Bastion as they are +1 and then cap our board around Jhin. Other valuable points regarding the comp: IE is commonly built on Samira but is not at all necessary. Her passive can crit regardless, and we are not running really that many knockups either. Therefore, the better itemization is just to funnel a lot of AD into her in form of a Deathblade of that last item. And since we're not running Sniper until we make it to that Jhin, we are also fine to be going with this form of positioning where Ornn is simply surrounded and we do not need to maximize the Sniper value. Artifacts in general are not that amazing in a comp, but you definitely want to be having enough items, therefore sometimes the portable forge might be the best pickup for you. If you happen to hit 2 tanky, then you can play into the standard 2 tanky board that I'm showing on screen right now. And if you happen to have a Space Group emblem, then we simply slot in a Riven over this Teemo right here. Other emblems that we could note easily: Sniper +1, completely fine, and Bastion allows you to be playing around 4 Bastion, but still having that 7 Space Group +2 Bastion on level 7 is going to be your best board. Other options, there are some ways how we can otherwise cap out the board as well. We can be playing around the Sniper variation here, where we get the Xayah online and cap out around Jhin. You could also be looking to slot in Stargazer over this Bard if you happen to have a good Stargazer. Any other Stargazer works. And then if you happen to be quite rich, you're also fine to be dropping this Gwen for a Nami and then have a Lulu in form of Replicator. That makes the board quite neat in that way. Some little exploration to do around here, but this is going to be quite niche if you're able to get there. Generally would be looking for more bows to get that red buff and Kraken build for the Xayah going there. Otherwise, you can also be capping around the Brawlers and Replicators, which is indicated here. But since so many buffs have went into the Space Group line, this seems to be the best performing default version right now, and these are just something you can be keeping in the back of your mind when playing. For our itemization, as mentioned, Samira we're going to be funneling her with AD items, having the Spear of Shojin to make her cast consistent, then Last Whisper to sort out that anti-armor is going to be better than the Even Shroud. Since Ornn is going to be our solo frontliner, we want him to be as durable as possible. And then for the last slot, Deathblade or Giant Slayer. Particularly since we're not running Sniper, damage amp item is amazing. Ornn is going to be our solo tank with the Stone Plate, therefore something like a Solo Plate is amazing augment to pick up. And then since he's a Bastion unit, he's going to love effective HP from raw HP. Warmog, which is great, otherwise Declaw, Bramble, or in the worst case if you must, also Sunfire. Just make sure you have that anti-heal sorted out eventually, especially going into the stage 5, and Nami can hold the Morello quite neatly. Otherwise her best is Jeweled Gauntlet plus double Nashers, but she can just utilize any form of AP leftover items you have. And Blitzcrank is amazing at applying any form of utility and can serve even as a third carry once you're able to get to that later stages of the game. He also left the Jeweled Gauntlet Hand of Justice, but any form of AP items or utility on him are going to be quite fine. For our augments, we ideally want to be looking first for Econ. 3-cost reroll is quite expensive, never underestimate, especially if you're going to be under pressure to hit early, you're going to be wanting a lot of Econ. Then we're looking to sort ourselves out with items. Obviously want to have 3 item Ornn and Samira going into stage 4 if possible, and then we have quite a lot of other item carriers we can utilize, so never can really run out of item slots in this comp. And if we happen to stumble in this comp from emblems, that's also quite fine. For our gods, since we're playing a reroll comp, we love the effective HP from Varus. Otherwise, Yasuo is amazing at hexes. Mana Hex, Stun Hex, the extra permanent scaling HP Hex for the Ornn are all amazing, and Ari to just simply bridge that econ gap and allow us to index a little more on the items or even take up a combat augment that suits our spot. As usual, this cheat sheet is going to be available in the link down below. And now, let's jump into God review with Wasian Iverson. Jumping in our WOD review with Wasian Iverson, our gods for the game are going to be Varus and Yasuo. And we are playing in the duplicator encounters. With this one cost dupe, we're most likely looking for some either potential tempo spots, as it can be definitely used in 1-cost reroll if it was somewhat more prominent in the meta. Perhaps something like a Lissandra reroll as we have here, but otherwise you're more leaning into potential to 3-cost reroll, definitely using that dupe as a way to secure your little HP threshold going into the stage 4, which you obviously always want if possible with that 3-cost reroll. Holding on, we do get a Rek'Sai too, so something that we can consider playing around this Primordial opener. Unfortunately, haven't seen the Belveth or a Briar yet, but we're also holding on to these Space Groove units. Our slam for the moment is going to look like maybe a Void Staff. Therefore, we're fielding this board with a Lissandra and a Cho'Gath nicely pairs. We do get the Pantheon for a Replicator as well and have half of a JG. So it's more leaning potentially into something like an AP opener right now, since we have to have a JG, right? And we do not have any swords. If we wanted to be playing into Samira, we definitely would want to be seeing swords because we could utilize at least 4 of them. Well, at least 3, but 4 is ideal case. And for that reasons, we're not definitely holding on to this Nasus pair right now. Otherwise, nothing that too appealing in our shop. With the bow, could potentially consider Xayah. Xayah has started to fall a little favor. Players are considering hot, but I still believe that the line to be very strong. But perhaps deferring away a little bit since she did receive nerfs. On our augment selection right now, Patient Study, since we do not have that much upfronted damage, and I'm not super excited with the Void Staff Slam, since at the moment the AP lines are more Fast 9 centric. Asol still has started to see a little bit more play before something like a LeBlanc. You would want something like a Rage Blade first. Therefore, Patient Study is appealing as a loose streak option. Solo leveling, we do not have any units, something like a Briar that could capitalize it. Gwen could do decently, but we do not have a Slam. You definitely want to have a Slam when you're making this augment. Electro Charge, combat on 2-1, only if you are either forced to lost streak, but then you would always prefer Econ pretty much, or if you have this Giga Tempo spot and then play into something heavily Fontranscentlic for Vanguard, something your Rammus. But I would assume we're going to be defaulting Patient Study now as an option right now, and then hoping to go for a lost streak, just scouting around to see what the others are preferring. And we see Calculated Loss that would be even more prime of a loose streak option now. Speedy double kill coming out there. There are definitely quite a few tempo augments coming out. Therefore, Calculated Loss is appealing as long as we can ensure that we're able to lost streak and there's no one opening on us to ruin our lost streak. Late game scaling is more of a tempo augment. You want to be utilizing this 2 XP to push levels, secure that early HP lead, and then be able to make to your fast 9 board. Calculate is still the better option. And Speedy double kill if you're able to cash out. This LeBlanc without Leona 4 is quite cumbersome to cash out. Otherwise, you can utilize this as, for example, if you had the Teemo 2, then maybe tempo of it and you utilize this as a little extra HP. This is a little extra gold later on. Well, quite a lot of gold, but you wouldn't be taking this for immediate item value rather than for an in-game board state. Now we're going to be ripping our calculated loss and just looking for a potential loss streak. Immediately spot that we can also make 10 and are going to be fielding here. We're going up against a Poppy 2 and a Veigar pair. This Veigar does not have the damage, so it looks like we're going to be starting out on a win. And that is a little unfortunate, but okay, at least it's the first round. Now this does mean that we are going to be giving up on that 2 lost 3 gold going into stage 5, assuming we're able to completely execute it, and we're going to have at least a single less round of a 3 gold from the lost streak, and that is where your lost 3 gold value is really into, right? Otherwise you would prefer to win, since that nets immediate an extra gold from the winning. Little rough in that, and we see that I assume he's worried about someone else in the lobby just to ensure there's lost 3 going. Now we are calling out Samira right away, and Samira shows up our shop, type and you receive, but I am still a little worried about our sword situation now. Having this glove, now this is the last whisper, right? We have this last whisper, which is a potential, and perhaps Wasian is saying that is completely fine for me. Just having a last whisper is going to sort it out. The swords will come. I'm lost streaking. I'm going to be getting my anvils and just going to have to pray a little bit some more dog. Nicely spotted here that we had this weak player here with the ward weight Lissandra looking to spike around at Lissandra 3 spike. Positioned, made 20, and then holding on to these anima units. We see anima, Sandy saw an early Aurora in our shop, and we had the Briar pair, so perhaps we're able to also play around anima. That would be interesting to see. In our god selection, I believe aligning ourselves with either of these gods is going to be quite strong. Varus has that little bit more potential upside. Ornn being a Bastion is gonna love that little extra HP. Cosmic Hex, if we had an early Ornn, this would be amazing to be stacking up your Ornn. Perhaps he's just going to gamble and say, that's fine, I can buff some other unit for now. Because own 3 cost gives us immediate Samira pair. Well, these early on in the stage of game, it's not that much of a value. He's going to value instead having this more HP on our own. We're going to be going for a win out. We want to be having as strong as a border possible. Unfortunately, we get blessed with an Ornn right away, and we are able to field him here with 3 anima. That is absolutely lovely for ourselves. Going to be slotting in the Ornn right there immediately with the Cosmic Hex. Start him stacking, and our board. Aurora did get this buff, so she has a little bit of damage, but otherwise I don't think we're that much worried anymore. We dodged the other loose streaker, so, and everyone else was mostly playing around those tempo openers here, for example, Leona print also as well. With the conduit augment, interested to see what they're going to be playing into this. Are they going to be Zoe doing this Zori reroll? He is checking a match history of someone, not exactly sure who it is, but there seems to be a player who has played a 7 Space Groove Samira a few times. Are we going to be downgraded? We're downgrading. We nicely spotted here that we can utilize the standing tube to make 40 and fielding 3 damage units by selling this Alawi, then still should be fine. We are everyone's going to be more or less spiking now. Saw that our pool was quite a few strong players, so we are fine to be slotting in this board. We might consider a level here just to ensure that we are able to kill the Krugs. These are not really Krugs. I'm not exactly sure what they are right now called, but whatever. We should be fine to be then lost streaking, and now we just simply have to be praying for our bows, and I'm interested to see what we are going to be going with for this anima cash out. I would assume that any form of a tank item, say like an Ice Blast armor, could be quite nice, or since it seems that we are able to secure the stone plate and are missing a little bit onto these damage components, something for any form of damage item for Samira also could suffice. Now we did not get a Reforger. Therefore, it seems like we'll just have to take what we can get. But anyhow, whenever you're playing from a lost streak, when you get this chance to be playing around this 3 anima, it's completely fine to be doing so. You just get it. Little extra resources. You're going to be lost streaking anyhow. Well, you might take a little more, little bigger losses, and our HP is not great. We're at 66, but nonetheless, should align as ourselves at least for a 200 cash out, or unless we're going for those I would be surprised if we went for these 100 cash outs, as China loved that strat. But nonetheless, going here, we have option for Misfits. This would be your fast 9 board. Did remove to get offered from 4-2, which is where it's strongest. This does not fit our board. Solo play though, we have this stone plate one secured already. Otherwise, an augment that you could be considering in this comp, definitely Earth. I do not think we're back in this patch 1 days where just simply taking Earth and slamming Space Groove Emblem is quite worthwhile. We'll have to see, maybe the meta shifts a little bit where it's considered, but otherwise this augment heavily invests into your item economy in form, an item tempo to be more precise. You're sacrificing an augment, you're sacrificing a component, and to gain the simple emblem, this has to be very strong, and that is why a lot of players, for example, like this shop, dislike it. It seems like he's considering it from these options, since we already have that one stone plate, but maybe double stone plate is fine. Doubling down on econ, 3-cost reroll, we always have to remember how expensive 3-cost reroll truly is, but is that better? I would be wanting some form of an item augment in here, and you have my bow is not exactly an item augment I'm looking for. Therefore, we just simply have to be going for this double stone plate build, what it seems, or maybe we can just utilize this other stone plate for something else. We are not under pressure to spike right away, so we're not going to be slamming, just leveling to 6 and not even fielding anything else. So he is playing a little greedily just to ensure this lost streak going. Unless I'm missing that there's someone else who is also very against us in a sense that they are also pretty much full open. the River Spire player right there. They are on the lost streak, they are on low HP as well, so I assume that they are, since they are on pool, we are a little worried about them. They have this, they are close to their Lissandra, and they have some form of a board. We just are perhaps worried about them opening. Yeah, we can see that they are fielding the Lissandra. And how do they have a Lissandra 3 yet? Are they not? There is some shenanigans going on here. They should have Lissandra 3 for now, not at least, definitely not in 6 copies. But we queue into it again, secure our lost streak, and now we are going to be quite rich, even though we missed a little bit there. And we have this potential for 200 crash out. I'm not sure if we're going to be greedy. I would assume that we're going to be wanting to spike our board right away. Are we going to value a little extra econ, as this roll down can get quite expensive nonetheless from parting gifts? Starlight Hex, something that theoretically could be quite good on your Nami once you get there, but for now it could just serve something as an extra damage for our Samira, since we're lacking in the damage compartment. He's going to value necessity to spike right away with extra damage. Again, do not get offered any swords. So perhaps we just take Nami with the rod here, secures that Nami for us, allows us to drop this Teemo, and we could just slam something like a Crown Guard in this spot. This is also, we have all options are max gold, but yeah, I don't see how we could make use of an extra bow or tier right away. Well, tier could be fine, something like a Protector's Vow. Well, obviously we still need Shojin as well, so that first tier should go into the Shojin for our Samira. He's holding on to go for that 300 cash out, it seems. Finally find a single sword, so we have that sorted out for ourselves. But yeah, it seems that he's wanting to go for the 300 cash out. So this is going to drop us definitely quite low on HP. So perhaps he values truly that there's so much strength in this line that we can be greeting so much. And especially since we lost that first round, we are a little lower on the econ. Coleman collected. He's going to be ready to go going on our roll down during the PvE round. So that drops down as very close to the 2 to 3 life threshold. This is the part where you just having to have been killed a few extra units would have netted you a little more lives, a little more cushion, a little more comfort. Now if you queue into someone who is fully sent it down on 4-1, 4-2 with 2-star forecasts and we take another big loss, we are definitely at risk. But if there's few masters in this game who can execute these kind of spots, this is definitely Wasian Iverson. We have that 300 cash out. What does it offer for ourselves? Rocket Swarm, that's going to be an AD item that we can simply utilize on our Samira. Going for our roll down right now. Extremely rich, get an extra immediate Nami too. So that's sometimes you might want to holding on from this investment, since you know we do not have items for her really right away. And that is quite a expensive unit to make, but we are definitely in a spot where we need to make this bramble from this extra chain. Now, find an early chain that is absolutely amazing for ourselves. Would have preferred that to be a Blitzcrank, but it has to suffice. Nicely rolled down here at 7 copies of Samira, 6 copies of Ornn, complete a declaw, find another sword, going to be holding onto this Rocket Swarm for now. Still no Reforger, so we just simply have to make do, but it is. Have that Radiant Ornn right away, definitely an easy win for ourselves to rebound from here. Now, 19 HP is very low, that is definitely 2 lives for ourselves, so if we might be under pressure to immediately, if we find another copy of Samira, definitely sending it down for that Samira 3. Jude Lotus, so could consider would give us the crit, but as mentioned, the IE is not that super effective on the Samira. However, best friends, since we have the Shen, is not going to really utilize on the positioning. Apathetic Forge, artifacts are not amazing. We have our own item sorted, which would be the better from the Sirakas Miracle, so we probably have to default Jude Lotus in this kind of a position. Sunfire Board. Are we going to value this as something? I don't think we have anti-heal, so perhaps we simply just take this as to sort out our anti-heal. Our component, open component, is a rod though, so we have a potential to be sorting that out if we just simply find another belt. I would assume he's looking up the artifact stats right now. Defaulting Apathetic Forge. I'm wondering what he might be considering from this, and he's going to rip the Apathetic Forge. That is Varus's maybe? Yeah, Varus's in theory should be quite fine. Find that Samira 3. It's going to be... No, it's going to prefer the Rocket Swarm. So I would assume that his reasoning here was, again, we needed items. We did not have full item set. We had this Nami too. Therefore, simply taking items was fundamentally the correct play. We are on necessity to spike, and the most power we get in our units is through having these items. And even though they're not that great hits right there, we pick the best one. As long as we take the correct augment in the correct category, we generally should be fine. But now we are close. We find that blitz, immediately slot that in, and very close. One copy away from this Ornn, unfortunately, unable to hit. It's always the last copy you're going to be struggling with. Going into a Nunu too, but thankfully it's only barred one, so not that much of a backline threat from them. Easy to pick up for our Samira. And now this is pretty much a game of how fast will this Ornn 3 come. We are holding on to also the copies. Immediate target duplicators, this is amazing. We can spam out this Nasus 3, just a little extra frontline for ourselves. However, Storm Hex is something I already also very much like onto this Samira. Whenever she knocks up, you get that free stun. When there's some form of knock-up happening, it can be utilized quite well whenever you're spreading out the damage, but the duplicators here guarantees us that Ornn, guarantees that we get finally our DB as well. So we're going to be having a little interesting Nami build going on right here. And we have this Nasus 3 as an out as well to print, and then just utilize the extra duplicators for any form of to rebound our econ, sort out the Deadblade, sort out the Ornn 3, get that Nasus 3 rolling for ourselves, and you can see we're playing around the 7 space group rather than the Shen. And now we're just going to be chilling here, making our way to level 8 and slotting in that Shen. It's amazing. I mean, you could say it's a high roll that we found these units rolling on 7, but if you roll them at times like 1%, you're expected to see at least 1/5 cost in about 20 shops, and you know, we can utilize a couple of them, so we're going to be seeing them, and we rolled quite a lot. We were definitely quite expensive, maximized our econ, maximized our loss take, playing on these tiniest of margins which are necessary to win TFT games at this high of an elo. Perfect play, perfect resource optimization and utilization. Interesting to see how he's opting to, well, obviously with Shen we're going to wanting to max the value, but here simply slotting in the Nasus on the weaker side to potentially prevent any wraps. Having this blitz here, this gets immediate reset from this Nami, from this Lissandra, but full backlining, so this Ornn can draw absolute amount of aggro with this Stone Plate, and we have so many resistances on this guy that he's definitely going to be valuable to buy a lot of time. Now would be ideally, I would assume, sorting out anti-heal, and this would be a red buff Archangels if we wanted, and you know, just move away this anima item from the Nami, and we're not on that much gold, so we probably will be considering it. Gillex, yeah, sort of immediately just see the anti-heal, just take it. Digging for an extra component is quite worthwhile, and yeah, since we have this blitz that we can itemize as well, we definitely have a lot of item carries. Therefore, picking an item, any form of an item on a 4-2 was simply the correct play. Again, this is why he's the master, and I'm here learning from him. Now this Ornn is going to get extra juicy, still filling up with this extra HP, and going up against a Xayah 1 that has made it to Fast 9, but their board is pretty much unupgraded. They have this pseudo reach for the Stars Jacks that's not even the right form, so I'm not sure exactly what went wrong with this player. They were they? No, they are different. The other Lost Streaker has went 8th with their Lissandra. Perhaps a little too much index on the griefing of us in their side. Seeing what other potential threats there are in the lobby, we see that there's a Vex player. Now this is the Fast 9 board, has flexed around that Jhin, saw that Samira was, the Xayah was contested as well, but they have that bar too. Bar has that damage amp against tanks, but we roll Radiant Declaw, we're able to easily hold the line with our Ornn that has been stacking all the way from stage 2, and you can see this line definitely has a power. Even though we're not running sniper for our Samira, she's still extremely strong at securing these wins for ourselves. Definitely all the space group buffs that have went in have made this line very playable. And this is the prominent way that has emerged, obviously, but I would assume that there's going to be a little more innovation coming in as well at some point. Against a Victor Conduit board, so this player seems to be going more into that ASOL line with their Conduit augment. Easy pickings for ourselves, and we are closing in our top 4 and securing that win out. Now we'll just be looking for some form of Blitzcrank items. Morello is something very nice that he can hold. Could transition this red buff. Blitzcrank is generally very good at applying all these debuffs, so probably going with the Jeweled Gauntlet, yeah. Moving on to the Blitzcrank rather on the Nami, I would assume he wanted to swap those, but maybe not. I think we wanted, we just didn't have time. Into a Vex one that does not have strong, has the Blitz 2. Blitz 2 obviously still a threat despite the nerfs he received, but it's a ghost fight, so easy pickings for ourselves to secure that top 4. Going to be slowly making our way to level 9 and probably then just cap around. I'm wondering, I mean, we could just slot in a replicator, any form of replicator, any. Well, I don't think there's any rogues. Oh, obviously Jhin. I would assume that Jhin is definitely our cap, but we have this Jhin 2 player that we're going up against. Again, this Ornn is holding the line, does get a reset. We get our full family stunned by the Nunu, but nonetheless, they simply do not have the damage to get through this Ornn. This Ornn unit absolutely insane with the amount of HP we have stacked, the resistances that we have on him. He's just able to withstand all of the damage, and I believe that this is some part that the top comps in the meta might be lacking a little bit right now, is simply having that single target damage, right? In the previous meta we had something like a Corki that could blow this unit up, but now the Vex needs a little ramp to get through. We find that Jhin, we're able to slot in and just get the sniper right away. Have the Void Staff now since we have 2 AP carries itemized, move that onto the Blitzcrank, and we saw that we get a big duplicator, so I have to watch out for a 3-star forecast, but he did not want to be putting the JG onto the Nami. Against the Vex 2 player, again, Reroll, Radiant, Declaw, you're going to be securing an easy win against them, and this is our top 2 right now. Find the Shen 2, now just we're looking for the last Blitz to sort ourselves out. But this Samira unit with insane amount of damage, still interesting read. Why we are not moving? Why? Well, yeah, a little interested in what his read is here, but let's dual gauntlet. But nonetheless, I don't think there's that much to do. But you have to watch out for this Fiora. This Fiora is definitely a threat that could wrap ourselves. Does again. We were committing to getting fully stunned, and now this is a little closer fight. We're getting a little splash damage from the Vex, but nonetheless, we have so much HP on our board. It just takes too long, and the rest of the board has been killed off. So this Vex doesn't get to ramp fully. We're able to pick up a win. Our positioning is obviously not going to change since we are locked in due to our hexes. Also, I think that the Storm Hex Joe just occurred. It could be quite interesting pickup for a Blitzcrank. Nonetheless, they're probably trying to see if there's any way for this Fiora wrap, as that's their win con. And the Nunu ult does not hit our carry, so this should be an even easier win, securing ourselves and completing the win out. Amazing game by Wasian Iverson. Recognizing that we are able to go for this extra econ from our calculated loss, definitely something you want to be doing in these kind of weaker openers. And then the key came that instead of going for the standard roll on 7 from 3-5, we recognized how much strength is in this comp and in this lobby is going to, the players who are playing for a win out are going to be sacking that little stage 4, and this is when, if we're able to hit during that stage 4, we're able to play for a win out through pure strength of this comp, through the pure strength that we have in our stacked up Ornn. Absolutely a beast of a unit. Therefore, we sacked all the way to stage 4, rolled down. We're fortunate to pick up these 5 costs on our level 7, so that allowed us to immediately push to level 9, reach that max cap with the Jhin, and secure ourselves a win out. I would like to thank you for watching. As usual, the cheat sheet are going to be available in the link down below, and I hope to see you in the next one. Have a good one.